Here's the truth nobody likes hearing. Most cars don't die because they're badly engineered. They die because of daily habits that stack damage quietly. In Germany, there's a reason you still see taxis, company cars, and family sedans crossing 500,000, 700,000, even 1,000,000 kilometers. It's not magic, it's not additives, and it's definitely not following the longest service interval on the dash. It's discipline. Today, I'm breaking down 10 habits German drivers treat as non-negotiable. Habits that slow engine aging so much that extreme mileage becomes possible. Miss a few of these, and your car ages fast. Stack them correctly, and wear drops in ways most drivers never experience. Number 1. Strict warm-up driving. No hard acceleration for first 10 to 15 minutes. The fastest way to shorten an engine's life is flooring it while it's cold. German drivers avoid that mistake religiously. For the first 10 to 15 minutes, they drive gently, not because they're slow, but because cold engines are fragile engines. When oil is cold, it flows poorly. Clearances are tight. Pistons and rings haven't expanded yet. Heavy throttle here forces metal-on-metal contact before a full oil film exists. And that's where permanent wear starts. Metals expand at different rates, so a cold piston can drag harder in its bore. Turbos hate cold spikes too. Shaft speeds climb while thick oil lags. On a freezing start, use a gentle throttle, short shift, and hold steady. RPM. Wait for coolant to move, then oil to follow. Most wear concentrates right after startup. Disciplined warm-up cuts it dramatically. Number 2. Shorter oil intervals than the manual recommends. Long oil intervals are why many modern engines die early. German high-mileage drivers don't trust the dashboard reminder. They change oil sooner because real engines don't live in lab conditions. Direct injection pushes fuel and soot into the oil. That thins it, overloads additives, and accelerates timing chain wear long before the official interval is reached. That beats up the additive package and can raise LSPI risk at low RPM, high load. Used oil analyses tell the story. TBN drops, TAN climbs. And in many cars, the crossover happens before the official interval. You also observe viscosity drift and elevated wear metals when city driving is predominant. Timing chains suffer when oil thickens from soot or gets cut with fuel. Think of those N47 and N20 cases where stretched chains trace back to compromised oil. Number 3. Engine braking instead of riding the brakes. Riding the brakes every day quietly destroys them. German drivers slow down early instead. They lift off or downshift and let the engine absorb the speed. Modern engines cut fuel during deceleration, so this uses zero fuel, while keeping brakes cooler, pads cleaner, and rotors alive longer. Isn't that hard on the engine? Modern powertrains use deceleration fuel cutoff, so when you lift above a set RPM, injectors shut and the engine becomes an air pump. That means zero fuel used while intake vacuum helps slow the car. Less friction braking equals cooler pads and rotors, fewer glaze spots, and more stable rotor life. Automatics are built for this now, and with warm oil, the controlled back pressure doesn't hurt bearings. Real-world use shows pads last longer when you avoid chronic brake heat. Cooler brakes also protect wheel bearings and calipers from thermal saturation. Modulate in rain or ice, but on dry roads, engine braking saves fuel and hardware. Number 4. Letting the engine idle briefly after high-speed driving. Shutting the engine off immediately after hard driving slowly kills turbos. That's why experienced German drivers let the engine idle briefly after high-speed or heavy load runs. When you stop oil flow instantly, heat soaks into the turbo bearings and cooks the oil in place. Over time, that creates carbon buildup, clogged passages, and premature turbo failure. Many modern turbos use water cooling and after-run circulation, but a short idle keeps both oil and coolant moving, flattening temperature spikes. OEM guidance for track days, and towing calls for 1 to 2 minutes of idle after hard use. Studies show bearing zones can exceed 500 degrees Celsius under severe load. A quiet minute pulls that down safely. Short city hops don't need it. Turbo timers automate it, but your right foot and 1 minute do the same. Now hold that heat steady. Number 5. Highway driving at steady RPMs, not constant stop and go. This habit isn't about protecting parts. It's about letting the engine clean itself. Engines last longest when they run hot, steady, and uninterrupted, which is why high-mileage German cars rack up kilometers on highways, not short city trips. Constant starts and stops cause fuel dilution, carbon buildup, unstable temperatures, and incomplete exhaust cleaning, all of which compound wear over time. Isn't mileage just mileage? Not when the engine holds one load, one temperature, and one airflow for hours. At cruise, combustion stays stable, mixtures don't swing rich, and oil reaches a uniform 90 to 110 degrees Celsius, burning off moisture and fuel. Fewer heat cycles mean fewer expansion-contraction stresses on gaskets, rings, and solder joints. Contrast that with stop-and-go, throttle stabs, cold catalysts, soot loading in DI engines, and fuel dilution that thins oil. Carbon forms faster during short, cool runs. Injectors and intake valves accumulate deposits when speeds stay low. Diesel aftertreatment also behaves better. DPFS, complete regenerations at steady speed, avoiding ash and soot stacking. Number 6. Regular transmission fluid changes, even sealed gearboxes. The brochure says lifetime fluid, but the tech who services 300,000 kilometer cars shakes their head. Why? Because fluid lives in heat. Every drive shears viscosity, cooks additives, and leaves clutch material floating around solenoids and valve bodies. If it's sealed, won't opening it cause trouble? Not when you follow procedure. Lifetime usually means warranty life. Heat cycles oxidize ATF and kill friction modifiers, so shifts get lazy, then harsh. Proper service fixes that. Set fluid temperature with a scan tool, use the exact spec, and fill by level, not guesswork. Conservative partial exchanges prevent shock on high-mileage units while restoring pressure control. CVTs need the right blend for belt traction. DCTs rely on clean fluid for mechatronics. Number 7. Cooling system maintenance before failure, not after. German engines run tight, so one overheat can warp an alloy head just enough to stress the gasket forever. Waiting for a leak or a red light is common, but hidden heat spikes start earlier. Plastic radiator end tanks embrittle with age and cycles, then split under pressure. Thermostats stick partially closed and raise average temps for months. Water pump bearings develop play, chewing seals and dropping flow. Electrolysis from poor grounds, or aged coolant pits, aluminum surfaces, and eats through heater cores. You counter that by replacing weak points on time. Refresh hoses, clamps, and expansion tanks before year 10 or high cycle counts. Swap pumps and thermostats with the belt, not after. Test coolant with strips for pH and inhibitor reserve, then change it on schedule. This prevents the silent killer, micro overheats that distort the long block. The chemistry behind that coolant now matters. Number 8. Cheap fluids, expensive engines. Using the wrong fluid doesn't break an engine immediately. It destroys it quietly over time. Many drivers buy oil or coolant that says compatible instead of approved. German high-mileage owners never do. Modern engines are designed around very specific fluid chemistry. The wrong oil can clog filters, poison emission systems, or starve tight internal passages, even if the viscosity looks right. That's why they use only fluids explicitly approved by the manufacturer. Not recommended, not compatible. Approved. Number 9. Fixing small warning signs immediately. A flicker on the dash, a faint belt chirp, a sweet coolant smell. Most drivers shrug and keep going. High-mileage owners don't. They treat small warnings like deadlines, because tiny faults cascade fast when ignored. Is that overreacting? Modern cars do throw the occasional false alarm, but the cheap checks are quick. A small vacuum leak leans mixtures, triggers intermittent misfires, and sends unburnt fuel into the exhaust. cooking the catalytic converter. A micro oil leak looks harmless until highway speeds pull the level down and starve bearings. Low battery voltage scrambles sensors, confusing the ECU and masking the real fault. Number 10. Avoiding short trips whenever possible. The most expensive driving you can do is the 2-kilometer coffee run. It feels harmless because it's short, but that's the trap. The engine never reaches full heat, so the oil stays too cool to evaporate fuel vapors. That fuel thins the oil, weakens protection and speeds where you can't hear yet. Short trips also load the crankcase with water and acids. Without sustained temperature, moisture lingers and forms sludge that attacks bearings and cylinder walls. Exhaust parts suffer too. DPFs and catalytic converters need heat to clean themselves. Cold trips skip regeneration, so soot and deposits stack up. Then there's the battery. Starting draws heavy current, and brief drives don't recharge it, leaving a low state of charge that shortens life. Fix it by batching errands, adding one longer weekly drive, or taking a steady highway loop. Fewer cold, incomplete cycles protect everything.